made a presentation about what will matter in the future. We are in a startup fest, so what will matter in the future for startup entrepreneurs?
Well, I actually gave them a talk, the hypothetical class of 2012 of startup entrepreneurs. And I was suggesting that they start by rejecting any safe visions of the future. They have to embrace the fact that it is the business of the future to be dangerous. So accept no bourgeois future, accept no safe futures, reject the official future, embrace the spiky, ambiguous, volatile, complex, messy future that we're heading into really fast.
And you were talking about underserved sector or underserved industries. What did you have in mind at that point?
Well, I lifted a bunch of smart ideas from smart people that said things like, you know, the key amplifier in the new economy is to amplify human relationships. That's Kevin Kelly. So I pointed them at, you know, the social realm, but suggesting that we didn't need yet another, you know, check-in tool or restaurant recommendation service or news aggregation tool. So I suggested a bunch of interesting areas to look in, some interesting corners, like, you know, the fact that cities are growing very quickly. More than 50% of the world now lives in urban centers, and the rate's picking up. So by 2020, it should be 75% of the world will be living in cities. And cities are a mess. I mean, it's, you know, it has some good. People get paid more when they live in a bigger city than a small city. But you also have to put up with more pollution, crime, traffic, smaller homes, but lower energy bills. So there are pluses and minuses. And there's also another interesting trend having to do with the growth of people living alone, singletons. It's almost 50% of the people in advanced European economies live alone, and it increases as people get older. It's almost 30% in the US now. So the nuclear family suburban lifestyle is going away, and there's this increasingly urban, less nuclear, more atomic lifestyle, if you will. And there's certainly angles for entrepreneurs to try to pursue that. And so this is an example of rejecting the official future, which is, it's going to look nothing like 1950.
So like one example was to grow more food locally and find ways to cook food better in a more efficient way to cook food.
Yeah, well, I gave that example. You know, the way we cook food hasn't really changed in hundreds of thousands of years. You know, you boil water and throw food in it, or burn it over a lit fire. And 40% of the energy used in houses in America goes to cooking food. I mean, it's a preposterous amount. And we don't have like anything going on there. I think that's a fascinating area. The entire food cycle is an unsustainable system the way we have it now. You know, big industrial models of people growing huge amounts of corn out in the Midwest and taking that and processing it into Cheetos or corn cereal or something, and then shipping it all over the place using giant factories, when instead people should be growing like cucumbers in their backyard or in their neighborhood and cutting it up that evening when it was picked in the morning. I don't know, there's a huge area of food tech. There's a really interesting space where people are innovating there. It's obvious, but to get it to work, to counter the hypothetical efficiencies of industrial food production, you have to have new technologies. And those technologies are invariably going to be web-based.
So these new technologies will have to reduce global environmental footprint to grant success.
Well, that's a great side effect. But in the first place, it might be just that people have better food, right? And you know, people are willing to pay the same price for better food, or even a higher price for better food, if they're aware of it. And so in urban areas, there's a large number of people have the money to be able to do that. It's one of the benefits of big cities is that people get paid more money to live there. So I think there's something really fascinating there. There's a number of these corners in our society that we've painted ourselves into, and we might be able to trick our way out by doing some clever things and look to entrepreneurs like the ones here today to come up with tools to help us do that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.